This application I'm going to show is my attempt to create a HUI, a Holographic User Interface in Unity that would be interacted with the HoloLens. I used some anatomical data I found, in this case a heart, and used the gaze. Since I didn't have a HoloLens, I'd be simulating it with the cursor in the center of the screen mocking the gaze that you would have, and you can see the cursor following the normal of the hit collision, and then also illuminating at the point of hit. So now you can zoom out and pull up the HUI, the Holographic User Interface, to do things like change the material, if we want to change the material visualization of the heart, or if we wanted to pull up individual information on parts of the heart. So I just turned on pop-up, so now when my cursor changes to white, I can pull up information on, say, the right ventricle, right atrium, and so forth. And if at any point as we're moving around our HUI no longer aligns to us, we can reframe it to where we are. And we could pull up the animation HUI to make this thing beat at given speeds. So we could adjust the speed down and up as we like. And this was my attempt to create a HUI. Now, of course, I'm not using a HoloLens, so like I said, I'm simulating it with the gaze, and where you would be pinching your fingers, in this case I'm clicking the mouse to do actual interaction. It was fun, learned a lot as I was going through it. So as I was doing this, I was using the camera.main.transform as the head from which I would raycast. So that would change for HoloLens to actually be the gaze. So I'd put the cursor at the positions to the point of the collision and its forward based on the normal, so it followed the curvature of the object. One thing I had to figure out to do was how to have this actually collide with the buttons to do a on button over. Say, so when it hits one of the buttons, it actually pops up to indicate that you're over it. I couldn't do an on mouse over because this was a raycast from the gaze. So what I learned how to do was in Unity, I would create for, say, a given button, I would create a mesh collider. In this case it was a cylinder. That would be a trigger from which I would have a trigger event. And I put it on a layer that was the button colliders layer, and I did the same for the cursor. I put a sphere collider on the cursor so that when the cursor came on there and the trigger sphere collider collided with the button cylinder collider, it would instantiate or begin the cursors, or excuse me, the UI buttons on trigger enter and on trigger exit events, so I could set their animations at that point. But of course, to do that, I'd have to make sure that the cursor did not hit itself or hit that collider on the buttons, so I had to make sure I was raycasting from, let me zoom in, that on the raycast I would have a button mask that would hit, in this case, everything but the button colliders. And so I found that from getting the button colliders layer and then doing a bit reversal of that. So that means collide with everything but the button colliders mask. And then one other thing I learned, and this is more specifically Unity, not anything HoloLens related, was, say, the animations on the speedometer. I spent a while creating the animation needed for that. I was worried that when I'd have to go and close it, I'd have to recreate that animation, but thankfully the animator state machine gave me the option for either the activated state or the deactivated state to play the same clip, if you see over here on the right, just with a speed of -1 to close it. So that's it. It was fun. Hopefully I can apply it to the HoloLens someday, and thank you for listening.